What up, what up? This is Finance, Fitness, and Folk channel. We discuss finance, a little bit of fitness, talk about some folk. So in today's episode, I'm going to discuss why young men are addicted to dopamine. So admin notes, thanks again to all the subscribe to the channel. I endeavor to keep pushing these videos out, give you leverage to better yourselves. So let's get into it. So why do I say that young men are addicted to dopamine? Now, what is dopamine, right? So it is a neurotransmitter that's in the brain. So if you don't know what a neurotransmitter is, do your own research. But dopamine is actually created in the brain by eating certain foods. So red meat, fish, some other things as well. That the food is broken down, of course, in your stomach, and then it goes through your bloodstream. And then that particular chemical goes to the brain, and then the brain stores it. And I forget the medical term for when it's stored in the brain, but then once you experience pleasure, then your brain releases it in your neurotransmitter of your brain, and then it releases dopamine, right? So, this is one of those things about the human body that can be very complicated when it comes to you having self-control, especially with young men. I mean, think about, all the times you feel any type of pleasure, whether it be, physical pleasure, mental pleasure. I remember being in school. This was elementary school, so I'm thinking maybe I might have been 7, 8 years old. I remember clearly that I would draw a lot in school. I was an excellent drawer. I drew so much in school and at home that I was raised kind of poor, so I didn't get like all the toys I really wanted at the time. I mean, I got toys, but sometimes as a kid I would ask for more toys, and my mom would be like, well, I can't get that for you right now, you have to wait. So Transformers was a really big thing in the 80s, and that's when I was going to elementary school. I pretty much spent all of my youth in the 80s. I didn't become a teenager until the 90s, right? So like I said, Transformers was a big thing, and I was a really big fan of Transformers, but I couldn't get all the Transformers that I wanted, right? So I would literally sit there for hours in my room, or sometimes in school, which I ain't supposed to do, but I was a kid, what I'm saying? So anytime I had free time, I would be drawing, right? And I would draw Transformers, and I would cut slits in the arms and legs, and I would cut the Transformer out, and I would actually make the paper Transformer transform. I wish back then I could have taken a video of it, because what I did was actually pretty brilliant. I ain't even gonna front, what I'm saying? But as time went on, I kind of lost interest in drawing. I probably should have kept doing it, because I think I was pretty talented, to toot my own horn, for lack of better words. But that's all to say that when I remember clearly when I was drawing, I would feel some type of euphoria. I would actually almost get high, what I'm saying? And of course, I didn't know what it was. Being 7, 8 years old, all I knew was that drawing stimulated my brain so much that it actually made me feel really good. What I'm saying? That was dopamine. Dopamine was being released in my brain when I was drawing pictures, right? So think about anything else that anybody does in life. What I'm saying? Like I said, would it be physical pleasure, personal, mental pleasure? When it comes to folks doing drugs, what I'm saying, which is a extremely bad thing. But that's one of the reasons why folks get addicted to drugs, and it's extremely hard to get off of drugs, because drugs affects the brain, and it releases a absorbent amount of dopamine, right? What I'm saying? Relating this to young men, one of the things that I think that really stimulates the brain to release dopamine now is social media. I know I've been pounding this thing over and over again, pause, what I'm saying, for a while now with these videos. But I'm telling you right now, I mean, you got to really think about it. Because I thought about this as well, what I'm saying? This particular thought I had, I really didn't get this from any influencer that I watched, what I'm saying? Like, I literally thought this up myself, think about it. What's the reason why reels and short clips are so popular with young people. I mean, it's popular with anybody who watches social media to a certain degree, right? You know, but for young folks, you know what I'm saying, a lot of, you know, if you want to scale a business, or you want to become an influencer, if you don't know how to do short content and do reels, then, you know, it's not gonna be a good day for you. You know what I'm saying? Because young people, they're swiping left all day long. Their attention span is like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't pay attention to nothing. You know what I'm saying? You do about 15 seconds or maybe a minute at the most, and then they're on to the next thing, right? But think about what's happening when these folks are watching these reels and these short stories. You know what I'm saying? Dopamine is being released because they're watching something that makes them feel good. You know what I'm saying? They're watching something that stimulates the brain, right? Now, I'm not saying that dopamine is released every time they watch reels, every time they watch, you know, short content. You know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure that over time, as these young adults, these young men are watching this stuff, you know what I'm saying, dopamine is eventually going to get released. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just bottom line. You know what I'm saying? And I think folks that own social media businesses, they understood this thing really early on. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure when they saw an uptick in views, when they started creating reels and short stories, they started like basically all these platforms wind up actually having their own version of a reel or a short story. You know what I'm saying? Because I know for a very long time, I didn't see anything like that on Facebook. And then all of a sudden, I'm trying to think who did reels first. Comment in the comment section if you know who did reels first. If I had to take a guess, I'm thinking Instagram did, but I'm not exactly sure. You know what I'm saying? But you know, all of a sudden, or maybe Snapchat. I'm not exactly sure. You know what I'm saying? But you know, eventually Facebook caught on and started doing reels. You know what I'm saying? And then all these other platforms are doing reels. TikTok is nothing but reel to reel. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all TikTok is. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a way to do long content on TikTok. I'm not exactly sure. I don't really mess with TikTok like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not exactly sure to a certain degree. But I mean, you know, like I was saying before in the previous video, Musically, which was the company that it was, what it was named before it named TikTok, that's all they did was just short content and reels, and it was all about, you know, folks dancing, right? So, you know, that's all to say that, you know what I'm saying, like, these companies understand that reels and short stories is what is keeping the focus of young people, you know, as a whole. You know what I'm saying? And young men are basically getting high off of watching this stuff. I promise you. You know what I'm saying? Just think about your average young man in this day and age that's influenced by social media in a negative way. And, you know, they're doing all these traditional things that young men try to do, or they think that's cool, as far as like drinking alcohol, smoking weed, you know, doing recreational drugs, things of that nature, right? So just imagine a young guy, you know, at home, or, you know, maybe he's at some party or something, whatever. You know what I'm saying? He's drunk, right? He's high as hell off of whether it be weed or some type of recreational drug, and he's in his phone watching reels as he's doing this. Imagine how much dopamine is being released in his brain while he's doing this. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And one thing that I would say is that, you know, anything you're addicted to is going to be a detriment to your well-being. That's just bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, addiction is not a good thing for anybody, but especially for young men. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't afford to be addicted to anything that's going to take away from wealth and take away from us doing what we need to do in life. You know what I'm saying? Because all it does is keep us stagnant. It keeps us in a box that we can't break out of. You know what I'm saying? It's just a crazy thing. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you know, can I say that I was addicted to dopamine when I was younger? I believe so. You know what I'm saying? Because I was alcoholic at one point when I was younger. I'm not even gonna front about that. You know, the first couple of years that I was in the Army, you know, I wasn't a raging alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? I was a functioning alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I'm telling you, when you join the military, if you ever join the military, you've been in the military, you understand what I'm talking about. There are so many people in the military that are functioning alcoholics. Basically, they can get drunk as I don't know what the night before, and then come to work and work like nothing happened. I promise you. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, your average Joe that's doing this stuff, you know, at home with a regular job, they might be coming to work drunk. You know what I'm saying? Because that particular addiction is so it holds them so much, you know. But with military folks, the discipline is there so much that even though we're undisciplined with the alcohol, we're so disciplined to the point where we understand that if we don't come to work and do what we need to do, we going to, you know, we going to jail, right? And it's an honorable thing to be in the military, right? So we honor our service. So it's it's like a light switch, you know what I'm saying? We get home, we get drunk, and then the very next day it's like, okay, time to tighten up, right? And then we get to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, the bottom line, I did it for years when I was in the Army. For years, right? So, you know, that's all to say that, you know, that young men are addicted to dopamine. And I made a video a while back where I said that an emotional man is a dangerous man. But guess what? An undisciplined man is a dangerous man as well, right? So, when you have young men that are undisciplined and they can't control themselves and they don't have they don't have impulse control. That's a term, guys. I'm telling you this. Impulse control is a term. Impulse control meaning that you don't grab that candy bar off the shelf when you go through the store line trying to buy food, or you don't get a late night snack, or you don't try to hit every single woman that you try to hit in your DMs. You know what I'm saying? Like, impulse control is vital. Is extremely vital for young men, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of young men don't have it. And one of the reasons why you don't have impulse control is because you have too much dopamine being released in your brain. You have too much dopamine being released in your brain, and that's why you don't have any impulse control. You don't have any self-discipline, right? So the only thing that I can suggest to you young men, as far as like you get control of this, is that you really have to have a foundation that is solid, whether it be, you know, you have people around you that are for you and will help you get through this, right? And of course, you know, having a relationship with God is definitely number one key, right? I found that, you know, that having a relationship with God actually helped me so much. And I promise you, if you ask the Lord to help you with this, I promise you, it may not come when you want it to come, but it will come. I promise you it will, right? But we got to tighten up, y'all. You know what I'm saying? We got to get right. And having dopamine being released all the time is not doing you any service at all. All it is doing is just putting you in a depressive state, because just like any other drug addict, right? You chasing that high, right? So you get high, and then, you know, you're at the top, and then all of a sudden you start to level off, and now you panicking. Now you want to actually try to get that next high, or you want to keep that high level to a certain level, right? And, you know, social media is one of those drugs, right? That reels, or, you know, you're swiping left for hours, watching through content, watching through videos. You know what I'm saying? We got to get right, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So dopamine is one of those things that it's a reward in the brain. That's the reward receptor in your brain when you release dopamine. You know what I'm saying? That means something is making you happy, right? Well, let's get happy off of doing things positive, not doing things negative, right? So understand that if you are one of these people that I described, that you are addicted to dopamine, and you need to put yourself in position to where dopamine is not controlling you, right? So let's get right, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I want all of you young guys to be successful, and I'm pushing these videos out because I want you to understand and be aware of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you, there's people behind the scenes that are making money off of you releasing dopamine. I promise you they are. You know what I'm saying? There are folks in the back of the scenes that they're getting rich and getting wealthy, and getting extremely wealthy off of you releasing dopamine, off of watching their stuff, and off of doing their stuff, right? So let's get right, and let's get on the other end of that. All right. So you want me to if anybody wants me to talk about some type of topic on this channel that you think that's going to benefit the channel or benefit you, you know what I'm saying? Like, 'cause I'm all about, you know, helping folks. Email me at financefitnessfolk@gmail.com. financefitnessfolk@gmail.com. The email address is in the description below. Finance, Fitness, and Folk. Triple F. I'm gone.